some Democrats in Congress are calling on White House senior policy advisor Stephen Miller to resign. This comes after a report from the Southern Poverty Law Center detailing emails in which Miller allegedly promoted white nationalist ideas ahead of the 2016 election. He shared those theories with Katie McHugh, who at the time was an editor at Breitbart News. The emails appear to show Miller attempting to shape news coverage by providing material from white nationalist websites. For more on all of this, let's bring in Michael Edison Hayden. He's a senior investigative reporter for Hate Watch at the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he published the report. Michael, thank you so much for being with us. You were the first to find these emails and publish them, correct? And
Yes.
I feel like they may have confirmed what a lot of people kind of already thought about Stephen Miller, correct?
Yeah. I mean, well, Stephen Miller has had a reputation of being an extreme anti-immigrant hardliner, going back to when he first, was, identified as somebody coming into the White House, which was January 2016. But I think this puts it in a totally different context for people when you really analyze it, because he shows that he's really embedded in the entire white nationalist, cultural nationalist movement, which has a lot of grand ambitions about increasing white immigration into the U.S. and decreasing non-white immigration to the U.S. based upon, quite frankly, eugenics and race science.
And this fear that the white race is being replaced, right? Is that sort of at the core of some of it?
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely at the core of it. I mean, we're talking. He referenced VDare, American Renaissance. These are websites that traffic in the white genocide, great replacement theory that we see attached to so many of these mass shootings and acts of terrorism that have taken place, from New Zealand to El Paso to Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
And how long ago did these emails take place, this email correspondence?
Sure. Well, McHugh started as like a 23-year-old when she was in 2014, and Miller she was introduced to Miller in 2015 as someone from Breitbart editors to help her with her coverage. Like, this person knows what he's doing. You listen to him, and you can feel him sort of taking her by the hand in these emails and sort of like, this is what we need to do. This is where you need to hit him on this. You need to write about this Hart-Celler, the 1965 Immigration Act. It's very clear that Miller wants to do away with that and bring back, the 1924 Coolidge era policies, which were based on racial quota laws.
Wait, so I want to ask you right off the bat, has Miller or anyone at the White House or Breitbart News responded to your story, responded to these emails?
Breitbart News responded by trying to downplay them, by trying to suggest that they were not, new. That it was not new material in some way, which is false. The White House tried to discredit Southern Poverty Law Center, tried to say that we were not, a credible organization. But, as I've been saying, in any time I've been speaking to anyone about this, these are emails.
Right,
and
right.
Emails
and Miller himself hasn't responded, correct? He hasn't.
No, he hasn't. And I wrote very pointed requests for comment where I said, Stephen, how do you feel about a multicultural society? Because we have people in the article saying directly that they believe that he doesn't believe in the value of a multicultural society, which is a very, to me, extraordinarily damning thing in 2019.
And you can see how some of his beliefs as espoused in these emails have actually played out in President Trump's immigration policy, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the email from VDare, again, a white nationalist website, McHugh was reaching out to him about her coverage for Hurricane Patricia. We've had so many hurricanes over the years, right, that it's sometimes hard to remember which one. But this was in October of 2015, and it was a very powerful storm that had taken up the news cycle. And Miller's primary concern was that people from Mexico were going to get temporary protective status, which is a policy that would give them, a stay of about 5 or 6 months or whatever it takes to rebuild. And he did not want them in the country in any way, shape, or form. I should note that temporary protective status was created during the George H.W. Bush administration. It's not like an Obama era policy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been around for a while.
And Bush was much more receptive to immigration.
The Republican Party was in general.
Yes, until more recently.
Yes. And what's really what links it up with what we're seeing right now is the fact that they have the Trump administration has removed temporary protective status from all these different countries that have a majority non-white population, the Bahamas, for example.
Very recently, and that President Trump said we're not going to extend temporary protected status to those victims, correct?
Yeah, that's right. He did his usual thing where, linking the people to potentially to crime. They're bringing criminals and that sort of that type of rhetoric. And of course, the Bahamas is 90% black.
And how much of a hand then do you think Stephen Miller has had in shaping the administration's current immigration policy?
I don't have the level of access that some reporters have. My specialty is on extremism, of course. But from everything that I've gathered in preparing for this story, which I worked on, for a very long time, I read all the different profiles. The understanding is that he has a tremendous amount of influence. And if he has so much influence over immigration policy, and he's a white nationalist, or he espouses white nationalist beliefs, that is a national security risk, quite frankly, and it is also a global concern, in my opinion.
Well, Michael Edison Hayden from Southern Poverty Law Center, thank you so much for coming to see us. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too.